A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Luke, chapter 1, verses 57 to 66 and 80. Passage taken from the Message version of the Bible. When Elizabeth was full-termed in her pregnancy, she bore a son. Her neighbors and relatives, seeing that God had overwhelmed her with mercy, celebrated with her. On the 8th day, they came to circumcise the child, and were calling him Zechariah after his father. But his mother intervened. "No, he is to be called John." "But," they say, "no one in your family is named that." They used sign language to ask Zechariah what he wanted him named. Asking for a tablet, Zechariah wrote, "His name is to be John." That took everyone by surprise. Surprise follows a surprise. Zechariah's mouth was open now, his tongue loose, and he was talking, praising God. A deep, reverential fear settled over the neighborhood, and in all that Judea, hill country people talking about nothing else. Everyone who heard about it took it to heart, wondering, what will become of this child? Clearly, God has his hand in this. The child grew up healthy and spirited. He lived out in the desert until the day he made his prophetic debut in Israel. The Gospel of the Lord.
Reflections on the Gospel according to Luke chapter 1 verses 57 to 66 and 80. From the 4th century onwards, the veneration of St. John the Baptist became so widespread in the church all over the world. An extraordinary veneration was developed in honor of him. In the artwork of all the ages, the Baptist and his life was a favored theme for renowned artists. He is portrayed with the characteristics camel skin clothing, the belt around his waist, and holding a stick that ends in the shape of a cross. He is the patron of countless dioceses, shrines, and churches are dedicated to him, beginning with the mother of all churches, St. John the Lateran, founded by Constantine. The name John is perhaps the most common name in the world. Many cities and countries were named after him. But St. John the Baptist is not a saint who is often approached for a miracle or for an intercession. For a special grace, a blessing, a favor, we seek the intercession of other saints, but not the Baptist. Yet he is so popular. And how do we explain this? Perhaps one of the reasons is certainly Jesus' praise of the Baptist. In Matthew chapter 11 we read, "What did you go out to the desert to see? A reed swayed by the wind? Then what did you go out to see? Someone dressed in fine clothing? Those who wear fine clothing are in royal palaces. Then why did you go out? To see a prophet? Yes, I tell you, and more than a prophet. Amen, I say to you, among those born of women, there has been none greater than John the Baptist." This is how Jesus has praised John the Baptist. Since the beginning of the 4th century, the monks of the early church, the Desert Fathers, populated the Judean desert where Baptist had spent his life. They considered him one of them, a model of ascetic life, and they spread the special devotion to the Baptist. As artists have pictured John the Baptist, there are two symbols that typify him very much. One is a mouth that shouts. It is the voice crying out in the wilderness, calling people to conversion. It is a voice that could not be silenced, scolding the religious leaders and those who have turned away from God. and urging people to change their ways. Without fear, he challenged the king of his adulterous relationship. But he paid for it dearly, and it cost him his head. And the second image is that the Baptist is the finger pointing to the coming Messiah. And here too he paid dearly, for his own disciples deserted him to follow Jesus. Still, he went ahead. The one whom he announced must become greater. The solemnity invites us to be courageous in proclaiming the gospel and constantly pointing to Jesus. We are not the center of the mission, but it is Christ Himself.